Is the chat up? Okay. All right. Damn it. Okay. Coach Shannon. All right. There we go. Look at. Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it. Yeah. Now I'm entering your world, Sean. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Craig. Good morning. What's up? I went to the live chat and it sent me directly to YouTube. Is that where the live chat is, or do we have the YouTube thing up? Create a channel. Oh, is it Slicker on YouTube? Okay. Okay, I'm back at it now. Let's see. And then I want to comment, and it's like, create a channel to join the chat. Why do I need to create? You gotta be logged in for everything. You know how many passwords I gotta remember? Jesus Christ, man. And everybody makes you change your password like every 60 days or 90 days or something like that. And then you're at the point where you're just writing down passwords. How safe is that? Under your keyboard, I never even thought about that. Thanks, Sean. Damn.
You keep
I was like, that would make life easier.
You keep it where? Under your keyboard?
Mm-hmm. Keep your password under your keyboard. Just get my computer and steal everything I own. I'm one of those people where I don't like doing things by my phone, like purchases and banking and anything. I don't like logging into my password, logging in my account on anything, computers or anything. And I have one of my best friends. She's like a security person for the bank, and she's like, "Do you realize like all of that stuff is protected, whereas your check is not? Like literally, when you're writing a check in the mail, it's not protected and it's not insured, but everything on the internet is absolutely insured. So if somebody fraudulently gets you, your money will, your money's insured." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Really? That's pretty interesting.
But and if they want you, they're going to get you.
This says to stay off your phone with doing stuff on your phone, because that's the dangerous part.
Doing stuff on your phone, meaning what?
Like, I mean, banking and.
Yeah, I don't want to bank on my phone. I'm sorry.
Well, how do you deposit checks?
I can still go to the bank, Dave.
Go to the bank, Omar. That's good. That's good.
I do. I actually still go to the bank. Like,
I can't remember.
I still write checks.
Once in a while, you have to write a check, but I rarely write checks.
Yeah.
But
I do online pay for stuff, but I only have it logged into my computer, and that's it. I'm like, you don't need to online pay with everything that you own, with everything that you have access to a computer for.
Yeah.
All right. Let me send out a text that we're launching now, and just keep it moving. All right. I'm ready. Let me get a gulp. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm just trying to find my path here. This copy is very weird. And I don't have time to... Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Sure. Well, it's been a long time since we've done an X's and Omar episode, and unfortunately, as most of you already know, this will be my last. The Sentinel has been my home for 22 years, but as of today, after this show, I'll be taking my talents to I Am Athlete, a new media platform created by Brandon Marshall, your once Dolphins player, business mogul down here in South Florida, and other professional athletes, which are designing a series of platforms that serve today's athletes, giving them an opportunity to speak for themselves. But before I go, let's take a look at the Miami Dolphins one last time. Miami's coming off a 26-24 fourth quarter win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the preseason opener, Dave.
Big one, Omar.
That missed field goal, Dave. I really don't know how much it would have changed my opinion or narrative about that preseason game. I will say this. After watching Skylar Thompson for 2 weeks, I was tremendously excited to see him play. I didn't know he was going to start and play the entire game, but he had been heating up and getting better and progressively getting good. Not better than Tua. Let's put that in perspective for people. But he's really and he's cooking. He was cooking, and he showed you a little bit in that preseason game. It was the beginning of the Mike McDaniel era, but before we discuss the new look Miami Dolphins, let's dive into what has transpired this offseason. Cliff Notes version, the Cliff Notes style, Dave. Let's skim through it, okay?
Real quick, right.
Brian Flores got fired for not working collaboratively with others. Flores sued the Dolphins and the NFL for allegations against the team. For how would I say, why is he suing them? To bring a class action lawsuit about racial discrimination in the NFL, the ineffectiveness of the Rooney Rule, the fact that African Americans are hired in sham jobs, like he claims the Miami Dolphins were, considering the Dolphins wanted him to tank, encouraged him to tank, bribed him to tank, and he refused to tank like an idiot. Then we get to the point where he made allegations that the Dolphins were tanking. They were. And claims, and the NFL issues an investigation against the Miami Dolphins. The league found that Miami was joking about tanking, just... Come on, because what owner doesn't say, hey, I'll give you $100,000 to lose. And you take it seriously, but the league kind of looked the other way on the whole tanking thing, Dave, because, they're kind of gambling ramifications, mainstream lawsuits, a whole civil suit again from Brian Flores that, you can't really incriminate yourself. So, but what they did do is they did take a very hard and firm stance on Miami's tampering this offseason and the offseason before that and the offseason before that and maybe the offseason before that. In Miami's attempts to get Sean Payton and Tom Brady, Tom Brady has been flirting, wink, wink, batting his eye with the Miami Dolphins, as we've discussed with X's and Omar. There was a possibility he was going to come here and be this team's quarterback, GM, part owner, guy that mows the lawn, who knows, whatever he wanted.
You can look at all those positions and somebody's sitting there saying, wait, he was coming to take my spot?
Everybody's always obsessed about the Tua aspect of it, and Tua's math is horrible in this situation. Anytime it's brought up to him, he's like, Well, that's before I got here. And then it was after you got here, and then it was this offseason to wake up. But also Sean Payton, that's why there was this big long waiting period for Mike McDaniel. Dolphins got him. Eventually, they let Sean Payton off the hook or realized he wasn't gonna return a call. Well, he kind of returned a call, but he wasn't gonna dance with them. And right now, and also Chris Greer. If Sean Payton and Tom Brady come here, I mean, I'm sure Chris Greer would still be here, but it wouldn't really still be the same kind of job. But the organization tried to lure these individuals, and the NFL said that's a no-no. They were part of other organizations at the time, and so Ross was penalized $1.5 million, which is about the equivalent of $200 to me.
It's about lunch for him.
And he was suspended for the first 6 games, which is the equivalent of Deshaun Watson's suspension initially.
What does it mean to suspend an owner? I mean, what does that mean? I have no idea.
Hey, he can't come to the facility, which he really wasn't coming to. He can't attend the games. He does do that. And he can't really communicate in the day-to-day operations. So,
well, and some of his league responsibilities.
Oh yeah, they took
committees, and there's some significance to that. But how much? We can debate.
You're one of 32 owners. You'll be all right. Yeah. You're still one of Goodell's bosses. You'll be just fine. But more importantly for Dolphin fans, they stripped the Dolphins of a first and a third-round pick in 2000. First-round pick next year, their own, which probably going to be a little bit better than the one that they presently possess. And then the third-round pick in 2024, which is really, in my mind, the equivalent of a very good player via trade. So what part of this story, Dave, bothers you the most?
Well, to me, the part that bothers me most is that it's a continuation of the previous decade where some fundamental things happen inside the Dolphins that we know all teams tamper to a point. There's a line you tamper to, right? We know. Well,
I don't know if they crossed it though.
Well, Bruce Beal did, and he brought in Ross, and you don't do it for 3 years over 2 teams and multiple decisions. You don't do that, okay? You tamper smartly, okay? And the same thing with this allegation of tanking, which is that's the nice way to say it. The real way to say it is game fixing. And if people had said game fixing, and if a bettor goes to a coach and says, "I'll give you $100,000 to lose," that's game fixing. That's not tanking. The Dolphins were fixing games. That was the allegation. That was the allegation. Okay, but the thing that bothers me most, Steve Ross flew to the Harbaugh in Stanford and tried to hire him when he had a coach. He was the owner when Bullygate happened, which at the time was, the most embarrassing thing that could happen inside a team. It caused that was a 3-year mess for the Dolphins.
That was a mess, a very nasty mess. But I really don't know what Steve Ross, as the owner, could have done differently because, truthfully speaking,
simply put, I'll tell you, you hire people who know how to run organizations. Joe Philbin did not know how to. A nice guy. He's an offensive line coach, coordinator. He's not a head coach. Okay, and that's what the domino effect of when you hire a guy who doesn't know how to run a team.
I'm very sensitive about Bullygate because I believe that Richie Incognito was painted inaccurately and portrayed as the villain, and I feel the villain was more Jonathan Martin, who wanted an excuse and an out for why he didn't want the pressures of playing in the NFL. Well, it was written all over Jonathan.
You had the spectrum of the one guy who was probably, if you let him go, he's a renegade inside it. He's a look.
Okay, that's fair.
On the other side of the spectrum, you had a guy who had some emotional issues who could be in trouble if the other guy's given full run. And neither of them, I think, obviously intentioned anything to happen. But this is what happens when you're not governed, when players aren't governed or talked to or listened to. And so that let's bring this forward and not.
Richie Incognito was empowered as a leader, and that probably was the wrong thing to do. Now he had earned it, in my opinion, because Richie was a leader.
No. Yeah, if you're the leader of the team, you understand he has issues that he's since publicly come out and talked about. Okay, and you don't empower people like that inside.
And he did have issues, but he was a leader of that team. And it's hard for me. He was a leader of that team. He was a leader of that line. He was a Pro Bowl talent player. And also that was the culture of that room. That they made fun of each other. They played around. They did inappropriate things. That's a lot.
And if you have a coach who's in charge and understands the dynamics of the personalities, you step in at some point and make sure that he's not too. Let's not get bogged down in this. There's a bigger picture here, which is on fundamental issues. Teams tamper all the time. Teams tank. Look at what Philadelphia did at the end of last year. There's a way to. How can you just not do that on a fundamental level? How could you not talk to Brian Flores that before hiring him? Hey, there's a chance we might.
There are coaches who interviewed with them who will acknowledge that they said we're not trying to win this season.
Okay.
But Brian Flores claims he never heard anything like that.
Well, I mean,
and I do believe Brian because he's a man of integrity. That's the one thing.
Yes, we know of all the things Brian Flores was with us. I mean, he was straightforward. Okay, he didn't offer
man
much.
Of integrity. I will fight you to the death if you ever say he's a man of integrity. He's lying, but I think he's being disingenuous because, and I flat out asked him when we interviewed him for I Am Athlete and it made the show. I said, I don't know if it made the show. I said, Brian, you guys were claiming people on Tuesday and playing them on Saturday. And then I asked you about that this very season, if you could ever do that. And you were like, no way. And then I looked at you like, gotcha. And he was like, well, that was a different kind of season, a different kind of, situation. And they were doing that to find...
That they were doing that doesn't mean they were throwing games.
If you're not putting your team in the best position, they played guys who didn't even know the other guy's name. The Baltimore game, there are players who flat out said, half the people on the field on defense, we didn't know their name. We just called them by numbers. And then you wonder why you got blown out like that.
No, nobody wondered. Look, everybody knew what that. If you're from Brian Flores' standpoint, you look at the waiver wire and you say, here's 20 guys better than anybody, the 20 guys on my roster, right?
So how could you not be tanking? How could you claim you're not tanking? Your roster was trash intentionally, but you weren't tanking?
Omar, are we going to really revisit? I can't believe on your last show we're going at it again. This is the beauty. Were they tanking organizationally? Yes. Did the coach go into a game saying,
no,
I'm going to try to lose this game?
No.
And should they have hired somebody who, come December, if they lose out, they get Joe Burrow? Yes.
They should have.
If they hired the one coach who was inflexible about trying to win. And that goes back to Chris Greer and Steve Ross allowing Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, but let's step above. I'm trying to step above to the constant issue of the last decade, which is on fundamental issues of ownership, leadership, setting cultures. Something's lacking. Something is lacking inside the Dolphins, okay? And It runs right back. I could say the same thing about Dallas in a different way with Jerry Jones. But in Steve Ross, he wants to win. He spends money like crazy. He does so many things right, like that I love. Building his own stadium, not relying on public resources. They're out in the community more than anything. But on the one thing that people care about most, winning products, they haven't figured that out.
Here's the thing. Here's why I will defend Steve Ross. You know why it's easy for me to predict what Steve Ross is going to do? Because it's generally what 90% of the fan base watching X's and Omar wants to do. Oh, we want to sign the big ticket free agent item? Steve's going to do it. Oh, we want to go out there and try to get John Harbaugh even though we have a coach? Steve's going to do it. Oh, we Sean Payton's thinking about retiring or free. I mean, they've made, 2-3 overtures at Sean Payton? How many times have they gone at Tom Brady? Oh, Tom Brady's available. Steve's going to set up a yacht meeting. It's extremely predictable what he's going to do because he does it like a fan with billions of dollars. And I respect the effort. It's sloppily done. It's clumsily done. They're bad hires. The one thing I will say about him is I used to complain that he held on to people that were bad at their jobs a year too long. Now he's getting rid of them like a year too quick.
Omar, what does it say, though, in 2019, after the 2018 season, Adam Gase was let go in part because he didn't want to lose, right?
Right.
So that they're in a major.
The team had quit on him, but too. Don't ignore that part of it.
And he quit on the team.
They didn't want him back.
We've been through this. He quit on the team, and the team quit on him. It was mutual, okay? But so they're going to go through a long rebuilding process, right? That's the idea, major. And then last year, he decides we're going to go 1 year to win it all with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. I mean, so the rebuilding process got now.
You mean this offseason?
Yeah, this offseason. If they had signed Tom Brady and Sean Payton, they would need security guards at the ticket office because they would be the number one show in the NFL. I get why it was a bold run, but if you're going to go after the king, you better get the king, right? Because
the saying is, if you're going to go after the king, you best not miss.
And they missed.
I say this. I said this on Twitter, and I truly do believe this. Steve Ross is that 220 hitter in baseball that's always swinging for the fence, and he doesn't have home run power. He's a singles and doubles hitter.
How do you explain that in 2019? You said we're gonna set it all back. Well, I'm going to be very patient. Wait 3 years. He wasn't swinging for the fences then.
No, he was doing something that he hadn't tried, but I think he didn't like the outcome and the results. And then he said, you know what? Let's go get Deshaun Watson, which I still think would have been the right approach. This franchise is consistently held back because they don't have an elite quarterback. He's tried, he just hasn't delivered. And I remember the funny thing, and I'm glad I'm going to get to say this. I remember 1 year after a number of failures, when we used to have access to Steve Ross before the Kenny Stills, Donald Trump gates, and he talked to us. I remember him saying, I'm frustrated, but in this industry, it's a lot different than the industry that I'm in. If in the industry that I'm in, if I want to win and I want to build the biggest hotel, I just go get the best guy for the job. I can't go out there and get Tom Brady. And then, lo and behold, in his mind, he's like, yeah, I can still try. And I respect that.
There's a lot of unanswered questions in this to me, and we'll probably never get the answer. And one is, well, we're going to get the answer to one of them, which is Bruce Beal and Steve Ross are reported to be on the outs. And Beal has been the owner in waiting. Of course, he was Brady's best friend not best. They're very good friends, which led to all this. Which
is probably why he was the owner in waiting. Maybe he promised he could deliver Brady.
Well,
think about that.
Well, think about this too. Was Flores fired in part because they were lining up Sean Payton?
Nah, I don't think they were at that point. Flores got fired because
that could be.
Flores wouldn't play along.
I'm not disagreeing.
Lawrence was insubordinate. That's why he got fired. He was hard to work with.
I think you said it right. He didn't get along with people, and to me, if going back to this,
let's be real about it. He was an asshole. That's the bottom line.
If they wanted to fire him for football issues, I don't
think it was football issues.
But I'm saying if they wanted to fire him football, say the offense as Exhibit A.
Absolutely.
All the problems on the offensive staff.
Can't hire a staff, but that was also his a-hole issues. Like, he couldn't get a staff that nobody wanted to work with him. So, in hindsight, while I disagreed with the firing, in hindsight, that was a firing at the right time. Because even if you went out and tried to hire another offensive staff, it would have just been a failure anyway.
Yeah, okay. So to wrap it all up, my big issue this offseason, there were fundamental, easy things teams do, tampering and tanking, that the Dolphins couldn't even do right without tripping over themselves. And that ties into the last decade of things at the top that just fundamentally we're not even talking difficult things here, right? We're not even getting the difficult ability
to talking about tanking, Dave.
Then a Super Bowl team. This is ownership 101. Okay, so let's move on, Omar. Our first question comes from John. What is more likely to us statistically finish as a top 10 quarterback this season, or Tom Brady in a Dolphins jersey this time next August? Oh, right to the heart of the matter, Omar.
Considering I think Tom is semi-retired right now, and considering Teddy Bridgewater in Denver was last year's number 9 quarterback in the NFL, I think more likely is Tua being a top 10 quarterback. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's more likely than Brady being the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I think Brady, he's going to come, and if Bruce Beal isn't here and we dump Bruce Beal, like it seems like we're dumping Bruce Beal, because he probably couldn't deliver us the hot chick that he said he could deliver us. I don't know what's going to happen with Brady, but I think Tua has a chance to be a top 15 quarterback, maybe top 10 quarterback. This offense, I love it. So I would say Tua has a more realistic chance of being a top 10 quarterback. I wouldn't put my money on it, but it's there.
Yeah, here, look at Brady's since this offseason. He retired. He was going to come to the Dolphins. Then he wasn't coming to the Dolphins. And then he unretired. And now he's taking a 10-day team-sanctioned break from the Bucs. So to try to read where Tom Brady's going to be a year from now, when you couldn't, looking back, you couldn't.
Don't forget the $30 million a year TV deal.
Yeah, right. He's being paid to quit football more or as much as than he would, probably more at this point, because he gives back to the team. So to try to read where he's going to be a year from now is my point. When you can't even read a month ago where he would be now is very difficult. You can't even
read right now.
But I would guess, especially if Bruce Beal isn't part of the Dolphins, which, that's being reported. I haven't been able to confirm or not confirm, but it's being reported by credible people. I would say Tua being a top 10 quarterback, if we're talking what's more likely than Brady being a Dolphin.
Yeah. Dolphins Quebec has our next one, Dave. What worries you the most about our coaching staff?
Well, first-year coaching staff. Now, in fact, I was talking with, I'm doing a long profile on Mike McDaniel for our football section, I talked to Scott Pioli, and he said, what worries you? I asked who he was with in Atlanta. And I said, he was a general manager of Atlanta, or assistant general manager at the time.
Love Scott Pioli.
Scott Pioli was a New England Patriots GM under Belichick. And he said all the normal things, and it gets back to Bill Parcells' line, when your head coach you structure your day, and you line up what you want to do, and then out of left field, 5 things come in that have nothing to do with, a practice or the mechanics of getting the game plan for Sunday, and you got to deal with them or your day's ruined. So it's just the newness. Now let's go through Dolphins first-time coaches of late. Dave wants that. Dave wants that best year as first year. Well, forget.
No. He wasn't the first timer. He had Chicago. So
okay. Tony Sperano. Best year was his first year. Then you go to Joe Philbin. Not a great run, but his best year was his first year. He was right there for the playoffs. Adam Gase, best year, first year. So there's something when you go from the contrast the Dolphins always, tough guy to a nice guy, or offense to defense, and they've done that this time. There will be I think there's a window there, and you're seeing it right now, all the positiveness and hope, and that because McDaniel's methods are completely different than the tough love method of Brian Flores. And, I thought Brian Flores, everything but dealing with people, he was a great coach. I think he'll be a great coach. But the strength of McDaniel is dealing with people and getting the most of them and treating them like people.
And connecting to people.
Yeah.
What I like about McDaniel the most is I'm learning every day. He's a teacher. He's a communicator. And I've always felt like the coach should do that, not just to the media, but to the fan base that is paying attention. Things that he's explained, storytelling, just bringing context to things. Wonderful. The best I've ever covered. I didn't cover Jimmy Johnson, so I did kind of, but now you know what? It reminds me a lot of Pat Riley. The contextualization of what somebody is going through or experiencing, he can put it here for you to understand it and digest it. With the tight ends, I'll give you an example. These are the things that coaches do. We watched practice for 2 weeks. Tight ends are AWOL. Mike Gesicki not playing. As you see in the exhibition game, Mike Gesicki's on the field while every important player is not playing. Here's Mike Gesicki on the field, and for good reason. Because as you all know, as we've discussed on X's and Omar, for Mike Gesicki's entire career, he is a disaster as a blocker. Disaster. And in this scheme, in this particular scheme, the value and beauty of this scheme is you as a defensive player have absolutely no idea whether they're running or passing on any given play. It's a West Coast play action-based offense built off the fear and threat of the run game. You watch Tampa Bay in the exhibition season, and even though the run game wasn't there because Casey Rogers was not going to let you run, the team feared them so much the big play was open all game, and they took advantage of it. But you have to have the fear of running. And when Mike Gesicki is on the field, he is a liability. He is a threat to get somebody hurt. And you have to play him and practice him so that he can get better, which is why he was on the field. And Mike McDaniel brings the story full circle. Mike McDaniel explained everything that these tight ends have been taught throughout their career, they've got to erase it, wipe it away, because what we're asking them to do is on every single snap, be attacking, go after him, get him, hunt him down, a particular player. Now, is that really Mike Gesicki's character? So there's some reprogramming that has to be done. But to answer the question, I'm very fearful of the defense. And here's the reason why I'm fearful of the defense. And I've said this on the show before, still stand by it. They want to deny it as much as they want to deny it. But Josh Boyer had every power stripped from him when the defense actually turned around last season. His knees got clipped from under him. And here you are, the man who actually took over some of your responsibilities, you made sure he got fired because you didn't want a threat in the building. You maintained your job because you ratted out Brian Flores as a snitch. And can you do your job well? You had a top 6 defense in 2020. How much of that was Brian Flores? And you turned it around in 2021. How much of that was you? So, and everything comes back on defense. And I'm not necessarily certain you have the inside linebackers or the depth at certain positions to make this work. So I'm curious, and this defense has to be good.
Yeah, to expound on that, I talked to McDaniel about how he talks to the media, and he thinks it's important to talk to fans, to tell people how he's doing things and why, and he says that's not hard. It should be every NFL coach. Now, my larger point is contrast that to Brian Flores, who didn't think it was any part to offer information or explanations, and you're getting a small window into the big way a coaching change like this is reflected inside the team, how they deal with, who they see projecting as a leader. It's completely different. And so there's a completely different vibe right now. And we can sit here and say it's good and it's better. My point, there's a lot of ways up the mountains. And you can win Brian Flores' way, as people have done, and you can win Mike McDaniel's way, as people have done. And it's just whatever is you're genuine and you believe in. And so, to the defensive point, that piggybacks on all the changes they plan to make this up. Vic Fangio was in line to be their defensive coordinator. One of the top 1, 2, 3 defensive coordinators in the league on Sean Payton's staff. And so, that gets back to our original.
And Mike McDaniel was trying to hire him too.
Yeah, because he was without a job when the music stopped. When Peyton and Brady said they're not coming, a lot of jobs have been filled by that point. And Vic Fangio's decision was, I'm going to sit out this year.
Yeah, he should. So, I never get why people want to. You're getting paid. Why you want to work for free? They're just going to take off
because they do this for nothing. They love it so much.
Yeah, you're already getting paid by the Chicago Bears. Why are you going to work for free? Sit down, chill out, enjoy yourself, and go travel, and then recalibrate next year. Matt has our next question. Fill in the blank. Mike McDaniel will succeed if?
Well, 2 things. One is he gets Tua to the point where he's pointing him right now. Okay, you can see it all off. From the time he took the job, again, a 180 from Brian Flores. Time he took the job, before he met him, he's on the plane. Tua's my man. He's the greatest. He's calling him up. And there's a little bit of Jimmy Johnson's Pygmalion theory here. You treat someone how they want to, how you want them to be, and they'll become that. That's the idea. Okay, and that's so. Can he get Tua there?
Is that in the Dave Hyde Jimmy Johnson book?
It is. It's all over. Yeah, that's one of Jimmy's big.
Plug that book, Dave.
Swagger. Have I told people yet, Omar?
No, I don't think so. No.
No, we'll get that'll be another day for that. But there's a little tweak. But yeah, Jimmy Johnson talks of his flaw, and I see it, Mike McDaniel. He's treating people how he wants them to become. Okay, and you see it in Tua. There's a little, and people talking. There's a little more, braggadocio to him. There is a
right?
Swagger. There's a little more of what they want him to be, and so
Rich Eisen calls it salty Tua. I call it bearded Tua. And even Tyreek mentions it. There's like a little arrogance to him. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I will say this for Dolphin fans that are watching. I've watched, except for the practice that I passed out in, and that was probably his best practice. I've watched every single Tua practice, and he's had one lackluster practice, the first one. Everything else has been going steadily like this. And we'll discuss that a little bit later. But here's Mike McDaniel will succeed. And Dave, you're probably going to be able to guess where I'm going to go with this.
I know where you're going with this. Right to the offensive line. It's good. It's good. Your last show, you're sticking to your principles.
And listen, a run game and an offensive line that can mow people down and protect the quarterback gives you a chance every single Sunday. Look at where this team has been for the last 2 decades. Dave, 2008, 2016, only playoff years. Before Brian Flores, only winning seasons. What's the consistent part of that, Dave? What's the common denominator?
Well, I know what you're going to say, so why don't you just say it? Don't lead me into it.
It was a run game and a good offensive line. And people don't realize this, but in 2016, we had the white powdery substance snorting coach, and he actually ran wide zone offense.
A very good offensive line coach. Chris Forrester.
He's a very good offensive line coach. And Mike McDaniel worked with him with the 49ers. When they had the unicorns, they were wide zoning. We're getting right back to wide zoning. So hopefully we can find another Jay Ajayi. Chase Edmonds is supposed to be that guy. So we will see. But Mike McDaniel will succeed if he can deliver a top 7 rushing attack. Is my estimation.
All right, Omar. Joe Dirt has a good one, and know how you feel about this. In the short amount of time you spent with this coaching staff, what can you honestly conclude about this offense?
Love it. Absolutely love it. But I loved it coming in. 49ers ran the offense that I would run. I believe in play action. I believe in the West Coast offense. I believe in wide zone running. I believe in attacking styles. I've always believed in that. When I played video games as a young kid, I was playing with those Denver Broncos teams that Mike McDaniels was an assistant for. I loved that style of offense. And to see it evolve and graduate and be where it is now, and to see it set trends in the league, because I think the run game is coming back, Dave. I know you don't believe me, but I think the run game is coming back. And I'm glad that the Dolphins are going to have a chance to be on the forefront of that. This offense is perfect for Tua. And Tyreek Hill is the fastest and quickest human that I've ever seen, ever. In terms of what he can do, I was talking to Nat Moore, and Nat pointed out he's as fast as Duper, but Duper never had his quickness. Duper couldn't change directions the way that Tyreek can change direction. Tyreek changes directions without losing speed. There are plays where they're running like jet sweeps, and Tyreek is in motion while the ball is being snapped. There's nobody in the NFL that can defend that. Nobody. Like, he's at full speed by the time the ball is being snapped. You're not covering him. No matter where he's going, you're not covering him because he's faster than anybody in the game. So I'm already at full speed and running, and all he does is pick option routes where he's going to go, and Tua just finds him. It's a thing of beauty, and I'm hopeful that I will continue to see that.
Yeah, so the Tyreek Hill is a fascinating dynamic, and I was thinking, I hadn't heard Nat Moore's statement. My thought was he has the flat-out speed of Duper and the moves of Clayton. Clayton was shifty and quick, and run. And it'll be interesting to see how he is. And Mike McDaniel was asked, is someone asked wrongly, but the answer was interesting. He goes, is Jalen Waddle, can he be used like Deebo Samuel? Well, he can't. Deebo Samuel took hits and all that, and Mike McDaniel's answer was perfect for how he thinks. He said, no, but he can be used as Jalen Waddle. And meaning he has his own skill set. I'm going to find ways to use these skill sets. And, you can just imagine a lot of short, accurate passes from Tua with the chance when they're at full speed already and able to take it upfield for yards after catches. And as far as the run game, it's important here because McDaniel's background is running. Okay, he was a run offensive coordinator. Jimmy Johnson's to keep that team going too.
Swagger, baby.
He says San Francisco had the best run philosophy in the league. Their angles, their blocking angles, their attacking ideas. He said it was the best in the league. And so you're bringing that to the Dolphins, and that's the way to succeed consistently as an offense. You can come into a Sunday and decide, okay, do we need to run more or to pass more? And you have to go both. You have to be able to do both if we're talking winning at a sustained and high level. So when you say what's the best part for me is McDaniel looks at who he has, decides how to use them, and his career shows with Kyle Shanahan that they have consistently made players better.
Well, Mike McDaniel's gotten off to a hot start so far in camp with a very relatable personality. His commitment to the run game has turned this roster upside down. The West Coast offense is being installed. It's looking pretty effective right now.
Honeymoon period, Omar. That's like the definition of a honeymoon period, isn't it? I mean, the way you're saying he's relatable, he's funny, everybody likes him. We haven't got to a game yet. So
yeah, but this is different for me from this standpoint. I've never been here and watched an offense and be like, damn, that's creative. Oh, shoot. Uh-oh, how you going to defend that? Like, oh, wait a minute. Like, okay, I remember there was one play, and we in the media, it was ruled out of bounds, but Tyreek beat Xavier Howard with Javon Holland not able to come over the top. So you just beat two of the top 5 players on the team. It was ruled out of bounds. He called it out of bounds, but it was clearly something that, like, you can't defend that. And I watched Xavier Howard and Pat Surtain and Sam Madison and Josh Boyer. I mean, they must have had a conference for about 15 minutes. It went like it surpassed the special teams period. They were just talking it through. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, I can't come up with anything that's going to stop that. And they were talking it through. And I'm like, man, good thing Tyreek's on this team because, yeah, there are going to be times, 10 plays a game, where you're just not going to be able to stop what Tyreek can do and what Mike McDaniel can draw up. And, like, how do you react to it? You just take the L. And I'm very interested to see what's going to happen from an offensive standpoint. But what have you discovered about this new Dolphins era that intrigues you or worries you, Dave?
Well, I think we've touched on a lot of it. The intriguing part is Mike McDaniel's message of who he is and how he wants to coach is different. In direct contrast to what came before, but it's different than the drill sergeant. I'm going to push you and push you and push you, even if you hate me method that has been used. It's a much more relatable and, for lack of a better word, new age method. I hope succeeds in the NFL because, football isn't fun a lot of times. It's not fun to play hurt. It's not fun to go out and get your head beat in or beat in somebody else's head. But the way Mike McDaniel coaches at times, you can see how it can be fun. And so, when you say, how is it different or, what is to look forward to, it'd be just that it's you're not the drill sergeant. He's going around, he's talking to people and he's showing them how to win without, cracking the whip like a lion tamer.
My biggest thing and my biggest worry and concern is how do you respond and handle adversity? And I say this all the time, and I truly do believe it. I don't judge a head coach until he's hit a 3-game losing streak. My clock of judgment doesn't begin until then, because that's when to watch Brian Flores last year handle that 7-game losing streak, I gained a ton of respect for him. That team never quit on him. That team responded. That team got better. Weren't seeing results, continued to work, and then eventually it turned. And never seen that before. And I need to make sure that Mike McDaniel has that resolve, has that focus, has that determination to handle adversity. Because if you really look into his past, and I don't want to talk about people's negatives and their dark period in their life, but he struggled a little bit. And he was in a dark place. And he worked his way out of it. And I respect that. And I'm sure that a lot of things that he's learned from that experience will probably help him become a better coach. And I'm sure it's helped him become a better human. So I'm sure it's going to help him become a better coach. Hugo wants to know, how much do you still... Go ahead, Dave. You asked this question.
Yeah, I was going to say, this verb needs to be attached to you, not to me. How much do you still love Tua compared to draft day? Love is the verb.
Love was accurate. And I do still love Tua. I do still love Tua. A lot of the things that I saw from him at Alabama, I still see. There's the accuracy. There's the precision passes. There's the pocket presence. Where now that we're up close and personal and we're dating, now that we're girlfriend, boyfriend, I now realize,
Omar, you're beyond girlfriend, boy. There's a union here, okay? That on draft day, you were married. The Dolphins married themselves to him, and he did to them for better or worse as the first.
Yeah, I mean, we need a little couples counseling right now. We need a little couples counseling. I don't like the way you lead. You have to do a better job as a leader. You have to do a better job. Tua, I'm out the door now. Tua's a weirdo. His teammates look at him as a weirdo. And it's okay to be a weirdo, but you can't just be a weirdo and not connect with your team. You have to be a weirdo, but still find a way to connect with your team. And you have to find a little bit of Ryan Fitzpatrick in you. And he's working on that. I know he's working on that. I know he's aware of that. And props to him. What I will also say is the arm, it's not what I expected. I said that when he showed up. Now, is it going to prevent him from being a good quarterback in the NFL? No, it's not. He can throw the ball deep. That's not where I worry about with him. What I worry about with him is in the third quarter when you got to make a 3rd and 11 throw and that ball has to get out on a 15-yard out because that's all that's there, is a cornerback going to be jumping your balls. But it is, are you going to be is your arm, it's the velocity. It's not the strength, it's the velocity, the miles per hour that you can rip that ball in there. And at times, cornerbacks jump his passes. So, and that's going to be, now he hasn't really had fourth quarter issues here at cover, here during early in his career. So my hope is that it won't surface. But yes, the answer is I do still love Tua, like I loved him on draft day. I married him. We're going through couples counseling. We've got some issues that we need to address. Obviously, the mother-in-law that I hated, she's gone now. Brian Flores did not like Tua. It is what it is. And a lot of people have theories that he did a lot of things to sabotage Tua. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't think Tua would disagree with that. So, we'll see how it works.
Here's the hard thing about the Tua era in 2 years. Ryan Fitzpatrick started, right, rather than him. They wanted Deshaun Watson. They wanted Tom Brady. So it's almost like now he's being given the love that usually first year, a guy drafted that high that they built it around is getting. Okay, he's getting help on offense. He's getting a coaching staff that's going to.
Why wasn't he getting that love?
Well, the question there is those other coaches worked with him every day, and they decided He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. Okay, so I guess and I was going to get to that. The point here is who's right. Who is right? And we're going to find out on some level who's right. And it isn't a question of can he be good. And I will say, while I've talked about his arm strength like you just did, arm strength is fourth on the list of importance for a quarterback. And so, yes, an NFL quarterback has to
look a swagger.
An NFL quarterback has to be able to make some throws due to arm strength. The one thing he has shown a great ability is not to lose games. Okay, that's the first thing for an NFL quarterback. Don't make that bad 2 or 3 throws a game.
He does sometimes. He does.
He does. I agree. But he's not losing games. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Now, the big step, if we're talking sustained winning and championship level, can he win games? Can he go out and not just, I can pick this game or this game? We're talking consistently in the fourth quarter.
And do what he did in Arizona on a regular basis.
And can he have that team? Can he pick up the team and make them better? Okay, rather than the other way, the team makes him better. Which that's accompanying a team to a good season rather than leading them to a good era, and that would be the difference. So,
Dolphin Noel asks, is the offensive line a concern for you entering this season? Does this unit have the depth to withstand an injury or two, Dave?
Yeah, it is a concern. And first of all, I like what they're doing on the offense. As coaching-wise, they put these guys, whether they found the right positions for them, not 3 of them have new positions. You got Austin Jackson, Connor Williams, and Liam Eichenberg are all at new positions for them, okay? And they put them in those positions, and they've kept them there. All camp, every practice. We're not moving around. Eichenberg, played 3 positions last week, and I thought that was the craziest thing. His head had to be spinning. So I love that they're doing that. Now, are they there? No. And so that's the question of, look, they're learning new things. Eichenberg says this is closer to his Notre Dame style of blocking, and so he's much more comfortable with it. Williams, he's an interesting case because he wasn't considered a starter by the end at Dallas, okay, at guard. The Dolphins looked at, now you look at a guy like Warren Sharp, who looked at all the analytics and he helps teams out, and they look at it. His analytics graded out high, and now they move him at center. And can he play center? I mean, that's all. So, and then you get Austin Jackson, tackle to tackle. He should be able to do that if he's the talent they drafted him to be. So, but you put all those together, and yeah, there's questions on the offensive line. And yes, things have to improve beyond where they are right now. But that's the idea. Do they have the talent and the players?
To me, it starts with Teron Armstead, and he's not going to play in the preseason. He's pacing himself in practice, and the goal is to get him to the regular season. I've seen him unleash, and I like what I see. It's not long. You might get 10 plays where he unleashes and practices, and it looks good. But the problem is he's never played a full NFL season, and we're talking about a guy who's in his 11th year. So you got to worry about that durability.
He just got a big contract.
Yeah, but I don't think that drives him. I don't think that motivates him. I think he's going to get that money from somebody. He's an elite athlete. The problem is he's an aged elite athlete, and we've done that before, and it's bitten us in the booty. So it'll be interesting. But I do like what I see. Connor Williams, from a snapping standpoint, it's not horrible. It's not good. It's not really problematic. So hopefully it improves within the next 5 to 6 weeks. And I do believe that it will. So I'm not overly concerned. I know what the alternative is, and it's Michael Dieter, and that's not an alternative for me. No offense, Michael Dieter and his fans. But so this is and as I wrote in a column last week on Connor Williams, They made this move because in this scheme, that center has to move people and he has to mow down people. Connor Williams can do that. If he can snap the ball right, he could go mow somebody down, and that's what you need in this offense. So it'll work. It'll work, in my opinion. Now, do you have the depth? No, not at all.
You saw that in the exhibition where the backup tackles were beaten by Tampa Bay's back. But let's ask this: how many teams in early to mid-August have depth on the offensive line in today's NFL? Not a whole lot of. Not a whole lot of them.
You better go get a decent tackle, otherwise your season's over. Because if we're gonna go to Liam Eichenberg or Austin Jackson or Robert Hunt, maybe Robert Hunt can do it.
Robert Hunt can play tackle.
Yeah, Robert Hunt. I can move Robert Hunt to right tackle and move Robert Jones to right guard, and I'm fine. But then I'm moving Austin Jackson to left tackle. Do I really want to do that? Do I really want to do that?
Well, he's not. We saw him play left tackle, okay, but
maybe it's coaching.
There are depth, as you've talked about. There's depth problems. There's a lot of depth problems on the Dolphins. Kind of surprising considering all the draft picks they've had in the last few years. But
yeah, there are some serious depth problems on this team. You know, they are front loaded as good as I've seen a Dolphins team, but let's say you get 5 guys injured, which is going to happen in the NFL. It depends on what guys, because it's going to wreck your season. They're not a deep team. And
okay, that leads to the next question. Lancer wants to know, what unit are you most worried about should an injury occur?
Oh, it's got to be cornerback. No question about it.
And an injury has occurred
especially with Troy Williams going down, who I thought arguably, and no offense to Nick Needham, I love Superstar, but I thought Troy Williams was their 3rd best cornerback. He wasn't getting the reps like their 3rd best cornerback because he wasn't a 1st-round pick who just looks like a disaster. It's time to go like this. I would play him all exhibition season just so Noah is going to play. Noah should play the whole goddamn game, all exhibition season. Because the light bulb either has to come on or it doesn't. And we're still waiting for the light bulb to come on. And understand, Noah was a man-crush player for me. So it's not that I don't believe in him or I don't believe he has talent, and I see talent. It's just his reaction time to the ball is so horrible. And every quarterback should pick on him. And it's because it's a safe pass. He's not going to play on the ball, and usually your receiver is going to be open. If that's my cornerback, I can't play him. And with Troy Williams going down, now let's say Byron Jones suffers a setback. What are you doing to start the season? Let's say Xavier Howard needs to miss a month because of some knee soreness. What are you doing? How does that impact your defense? It wrecks your defense because Xavier shadows your best player and frees you up to do everything that you do. What are we doing now? We moving Eric Roback to cornerback?
And you look also their schedule. You don't know how it will break because the back half of last year they played backups and 2nd strings, 3rd strings, even 4th string at New Orleans. But going into the season, they play a lot of top quarterbacks. So
hold on. I will say this, Dave. I've covered the Dolphins for 15 years. There hasn't been a single season I've been here where you didn't need your 6th cornerback.
Sure, right. So I'd agree with you. Look, we've gone through the depth problems at cornerback, depth problems at tackle. Those, Bill Parcells, one of his lines, you can never have enough tackles or cornerbacks. Okay, but let's look at receiver too. Okay,
yes.
They're high-end receivers are probably as good as anybody, maybe better in the league. Certainly faster than anybody in the league. But remember when Jeff Ireland was on Hard Knocks and said, we have a bunch of 4, 5, and 6s. We need 1, 2, and 3s. So well, now they have 1, 2s, and 3s. They need some 4, 5s, and 6s that they can count on because
waiver wire.
Yeah, and they're out there. They should be there. There should be a couple out there that they can.
I'm at the point now where I'm keeping Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden Jr. because I know the talent is there. And in break in case of emergency situations, I know I can make something happen with them. But both have notoriously been bad about learning playbooks for every coach that's been here.
Yeah, I look, Preston Williams had a nice rookie season where you said, "Oh, there's something here." We haven't seen it really the last 2 years. How much scholarship do you have if you're first year team? I don't know. We're going to find out. All right, now for the moment I wish wasn't happening. It's the farewell to Omar. Look, he's having to take a sip of coffee or whatever's in there. We don't even know what's in there to go with. But I remember years ago when I first met Omar, I believe covering UM was probably the first. It's certainly the first moment I remember, because I talked to him at practice, and here was this young, passionate, very opinionated guy covering the practices, and I thought, wow, he's different. He's different, and that sort of carried through his whole thing, and it carried over the Dolphins. Certainly, how many years do you cover the Dolphins now, Omar?
15
years. So, and he made himself a nice brand to follow because of two qualities we all strive for, no matter what job you're in. One, passion, as I mentioned, the two, genuineness. We've argued about the Dolphins for 15 years, if he's covered for 15 years, on different things of philosophies of the team, philosophies of football. And you could dislike him over some things he said, as I have. You could disagree with him. I certainly have, but you can never question his passion or genuineness and the ability. He's out there we were talking before this show, and I was asking him about his last day at the Sentinel, and he said, yeah, he really got emotional watching his last practice for the Dolphins because he likes the practices more than the games. And again, that's something I like the games. The games are why I write what I enjoy, not the practices, but to tell you what he did. So you're going to be missed, Omar, and all the best in your future endeavors. And let's hope the paths circle back and cross again.
Definitely. I'm thankful for the opportunity that the Sentinel provided me. Back when, and I've told this story before, I'm a Florida A&M graduate, and my senior year, we were up for accreditation, and my dean, the School of Journalism, and my dean, Dean Ruggles, came to me and said, we need you to run our student newspaper as the editor-in-chief because we need to go online and we need to be twice a week in order for us to get accreditation. And I said to him, yeah, that's not going to happen because I actually pay my tuition covering Florida State for the Palm Beach Post and the I think it was like St. Petersburg Times. And I was like, yeah, I mean, because when I went to school, I paid for school by freelancing covering Florida State. And I said, so it can't happen. And I love the school, but it can't happen. He said, I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen. And he called Kathy Pellegrino, who was the Tribune, who was the Sun Sentinel's hiring person, and told her his issues. The next thing I know, I'm called to his office, and the Tribune had paid my tuition and had set me up with a job.
Wait, the Tribune? You mean the Sun Sentinel? Oh, the Chicago Tribune company.
No, all of Tribune, the company.
Yeah. Okay.
All of Tribune. And set me up with a job doing a college football roundup of best games of the week, paying me more for one assignment than I was covering Florida State for every single day. So I could quit that job, didn't have to pay tuition, and all I had to do was run my student newspaper. And then from there, they said, you know what, we're going to hire you before you even finish school and just go cover the state Senate. Just go cover Florida State legislature. And I'm like, wow, this is like, like, why me and why, and I think I realize now in hindsight, it was because I always had a passion for journalism and everybody. And I did go and be the editor-in-chief of the FAMU, and it was challenging, but we were online. That was back in 2000, so not everybody was online then. We were online, and we went twice a week, and we got our accreditation. But it was an investment in me, and I've always been appreciative and respectful for all of the investments that the Sun Sentinel and Tribune has made in me, and I'm tremendously thankful for it.
Let's not get all the warm fuzzies out. We'll leave on a few questions, okay?
Gotcha.
Right, Omar? Okay. Watch Out has a good one. We'll end up like we always did this, just in answering questions and Omar filling in his Dolphin opinions. What does the 2022 Omar say to the 2000 Omar about your time with the Sun Sentinel covering the Dolphins? What was your lasting impression of the past 15 years?
You brought it up. There were common denominators about this team, sticking with people too long, inappropriate investments in a quarterback that you haven't seen anything from, and then leadership. I am at the point, while I'm a Steve Ross fan, and I do not deny that I'm a Steve Ross fan, I would have done every single thing that he's done, including tampering, including encouraging tanking. I was on X's and Omar for an entire season saying, what is this Brian Flores guy doing trying to win games? So I'm not, but leadership has to improve. I'm a big believer in Tom Garfinkel. I'm a big believer in what he does. I don't understand how every aspect of that organization doesn't run like Tom Garfinkel runs things. Like, if Tom Garfinkel's fingers are on it, it's going to be good. Why has that not translated to the football side? And I don't get it. I don't get it. And, and maybe it's the wrong investment in quarterbacks. This one, while I believe in Tua, I don't think you're going to see full Tua until 2023, and you just have to be patient for it. But you waited 7 years for Ryan Tannehill to show you he's just a guy. At least give Tua till 2023.
Oh, Clint has a good one, Omar. What's your biggest thing you've learned about yourself during your time at the Sun Sentinel?
I give this lecture anytime I talk to kids, talk to a school. Dream big. Dream bigger than you can even imagine. Because you know what? And this is not a knock, but when I was growing up, I saw Robert Steinbeck, and I saw I forget his name now, but it was an African American sports writer that worked in the Herald, and I saw Steve Weich, and I saw
David Neal, Sean Powell.
It was Sean Powell, and I saw Sean Powell's work in the Miami Herald, and I said, I want to do that, and I killed myself to put myself on that path to become a sports columnist and to become a voice in the South Florida sports community that people respected. And it took a lot of work. But you know what? I got there at 35? And I'm like, okay, what now? Especially in this ever-evolving. And if I was to be honest with myself, I loved film and television production way more than I loved writing. And if I had dreamed bigger, maybe I'd be a film director right now, making television shows and movies. And, it's funny. It's funny that I say this because I remember Brandon Marshall asking me one day, because we're friends, and that's why I'm going to work for. Brandon Marshall is my boss. So anybody who thinks that I can't be disrespectful on Twitter and social media, check my boss. I can do what I want. And Brandon Marshall asked me one time, what's your dream? What do you want to do? And I said to him, I want to run a production. I want to build a production company. I want to run a production company. And fast forward 5 years, he goes, here's a production company. Come run it. He's built it. And now I'm running it. And like, you know, never thought that would happen. But what I've learned about myself is I don't dream big enough. I don't dream big enough, and I need to dream bigger. That's it.
Well, let's hope, Omar, you got plenty of time. You can still get to the movie company and all that stuff. Okay, right? Okay. Daniel asks, what will you miss most about covering the Dolphins?
Practices, Dave. I get an opportunity to watch what Dolphin fans wait all week for Sunday to look at. I look at it every day, and I enjoy the strategy and of how do you play who's a week one opponent. How do you get Mac Jones stressed, and how do you cover Devontae Parker? I enjoy that strategy, and I enjoy, like, what I've really enjoyed about Brian Flores. I went into Sunday anxiously anticipating what was his strategy on defense, because offense it sucked. But what was his defensive strategy for that week? And I was always amazed by it and always impressed by it. Sometimes it didn't work, sometimes it didn't work. But it always was like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, all right, okay, I can see that now. So to me, I think that's what I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss, I would say I'm going to miss being in the locker room. But my job is now running a serious radio show from 7 to 9, where it's 4 former pro athletes, and we're talking, about sports, and it's really managing former elite athletes, and like Brandon Marshall and LaShawn McCoy and Adam Pac-Man Jones and Chad Ochocinco. So I still gonna get that locker room feel.
All right, I know you won't miss going to Buffalo in late December. Okay, fins up with our last question. What's your favorite coach, player, front office person, and most memorable fan?
My favorite coach has got to be Brandon Marshall. Favorite player is Brandon Marshall. Like, we have a friendship. We struck up a friendship from the time I went up there to Boston to cover him when he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and got to know and paint the picture of what he was experiencing and dealing with. My favorite player, and this is going to interest you, Dave. My favorite executive or coach to cover was Bill Parcells. As mean and ruthless, and Bill Parcells would walk by you and say an insult to you, and it would cut you so deep, you're rethinking your life for like a week. And like,
I mean, he'd say it to you? He'd say it to you mean he'd say it to a player?
No, he'd say it to me, too. He'd say it to me.
What did he say? What did he say?
You still out here writing for that newspaper I wouldn't even wrap my fish in?
He's got to be more original than that. Come on. He had great lines.
He would cut you deep. He would cut you deep, and players said it to Ricky Williams when he puts a gas can in his locker, like, an empty gas can. Like, it would just be the mental games that he would play with you. I don't remember all of the things he said to me, but he also, when he shared stories, like, even I saw Casey Rogers last week and talked to him. He must have shared like 3 things Bill Parcells used to say.
He had great lines. Great lines. I did a column once, or long story on everybody in his career. A lot of people in his career work with him, and their favorite Parcells line. And it was so. What about front office person and fan?
That Bill Parcells was my front office person.
Oh.
My favorite fan, and I won't say who he is, but it was one of my favorite experiences ever on the beat. I hung with fans on the road, Dave.
I know. I was always impressed by that, Omar.
Kathy hated it. Everybody always thought it was dangerous, but like, these are the people that I interact with on Twitter. These are my friends. And there's one fan in particular that I'd interact with for years. Finally hung with him in Indianapolis, and then he revealed to me that, hey, I just want you to know that I grew up with a family that was in the KKK, and they always told me how horrible black people were, how nasty black people were, how they're like poison to the world. And you were the first black person that I got to know.
Wow, that's powerful. That's interesting.
And he was like, and it really taught me that they were full of crap, and that these old preconceived perceptions and thought processes, and that they're trying to indoctrinate into my generation, you know, because I got to know you on Twitter, like it's not real. And that was always the reason why I always hung with fans, because I got to know them, they got to know me, and you know, and that exposure can change people's lives.
Well, it's been fun. It's been a long show, but I hate to see the run. First of all, we can only take application for people with a first name or last name that begins with O, because where are we going to go with O'Reilly, or where do we go now, Omar?
Dolphins with Dave. I told you. I'm curious to see what happens. I will continue to be watching and continue to be supporting you guys. So that Sentinel will always be family to me.
All right, give us the normal exit lines about where you can watch the show, just like normal, and best of luck to Omar in his new challenges. I think everybody will be watching and supporting.
Yeah, we're on I Am Athlete tonight. That's a radio show on Mad Dog Sports Radio, channel 82 from 7 to 9. It's really good talk. We're opening up this week the video element. It's like a Pat McAfee type show. I'm a producer on it. I'm also on the show. Not every day. There are guys who come in and out, and women who come in and out. I'm working on something special there. You will see the return of Miko Grimes to radio. And then we have I Am Athlete. You can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube, where we have episodes coming out every single week. Today's episode comes out, launches at noon. It's St. John, the musical artist. We do sports, musicians, comedians, everybody for the hour-long sit-down. So, and if you haven't seen the episodes, you can just look down those episodes. We've done them with Jalen Waddle. We've done them with Brian Flores. We've done them with Lil Wayne, The Game. You know, we sit down with celebrities. Aaron Donald, when he was contract dispute. Kyrie Irving gave us his first exclusive. We're the first to talk to Colin Kaepernick in 6 years. So just having that opportunity and that platform is where you can make a difference in terms of allowing athletes, giving them a safe space where they can tell their side of the story. That's what I Am Athlete is about.
All right, sign us off here, Omar.
It is a pleasure and an honor to pass over the torch to Dave Hyde, who's going to be running Dolphins with Dave.
I think we need to put a stop on that right there. Right.
I'm sure some form of this show will be back. And if you guys need help laying the foundation, it will be an honor. It will be an honor. Thank you for watching. Thank you for always supporting. Thank you for hopefully your continued support. Appreciate you. Love you. Thank you, guys.